and the Christ has failed. Now he's supposed to be a representative of the Christ, but he's telling you Christ failed. Think about that. Don't believe me. Go check all this stuff I'm telling you out. You can just scroll my page and all the evidence you need is on my Facebook. It's not hard to find. Not only that, all of the signs say he the last pope. When you go through all of the historical records of prophecies about the pope, that's it. Because he had to be exposed. And once he get exposed, the books say that the world would look and say, is this him? This one? Is this the one that had us all under this terror and treachery? Well, not exactly, but exactly that's him. He is the hidden hand behind all of the treachery and the wickedness on this planet. They go to JFK's speech, Separation of Church and State. I'm going to give you the historical background of that speech. The Separation of Church and State speech came about because Pope Francis being a Jesuit, and the Jesuit priesthood being the tyrants who come and put the pressure on the presidents and heads of state around the world in order to do the bidding of the Catholic Church. Mind you, this is not a condemnation of every Catholic priest, but the pedophile cult of priests, they all his. You want to see a righteous priest, all you got to do is go to Chicago. Father Pfleger fight for the rights of the people. So that don't mean that all of the Catholics are bad. See, that's how they get us. Because they take a minority to shine a negative light on the majority. We done with that. This is a new era. We're going into analysis.
Go ahead. You can see it. You can see it. Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that he got this. He gets sunburned. Sun
Yeah. So his story, this picture right here, he's supposed to be like 100 and something years old.
Okay. That's another reason too. He 100 or something.
Yeah, but black don't crack.
No, black don't crack like this though. My grandma was 100 and something. She ain't look like this.
Mm-hmm. Anybody that know people know where that motherfucker come from.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get back to the post. We got some more dogs roll reading to do.
Yeah, I like this. I like your post on your page. You got some good shit. All right, let's roll that back, baby. That pull back up, please. Where were we? Hold on, we were right here. All right.
Keep going. That's just a commercial. The Curtis Act, passed in 1898, targeted the 5 civilized tribes. Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They call these the 5 civilized tribes, and they changing the names.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Specifically Cherokee and Seminole. Seminole should be Gullah or Gullah Getcha. Mm-hmm. And Cherokee is a whole nother word. I can't even pronounce that shit right now because my mind ain't over there. Mm-hmm. But the Curtis Act, passed in 1898, targeted the 5 civilized tribes, forcing them to accept allotments and register on the dog roll. Now, here's the key thing: it says to accept allotments. What does that mean?
To accept reservations, I think. Absolutely.
See, so they was moving to put $5 Indians on reservations using this system. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's say the 2 acts which came, scroll down, during the period of murky social context. See what that say?
Mm-hmm. Murky social context. Look, these niggas be wording some shit, man.
Right. Now,
not clear. I mean, it's not clear. It's not a clear,
right,
decisive, All
right, now look. This is where the murky social context come in. After the Civil War, when white and so-called black men were intermarrying with Native American women, aimed to help the government keep track of real Indians, while accelerating efforts to assimilate Indian people into so-called white culture. Right? So this is what murkied the waters. The one drop of blood doctrine, the great melding pot. Everybody giving up a drop of blood, and then they all coming together to try to confuse the genetics. All right, let's keep going. We ain't done. By 1865, African Americans and white Americans were moving into the Midwest, into the Indian and Oklahoma territories, all vying for some patch of land that they could call their own and live out their Jeffersonian view of independence. All right? Scroll down. Let's read some more.
Yes.
He said the federal government poured a lot of effort and energy into the Dawes Commission, but at the same time, it was very hard for both Native and American governments to keep track of who was who. All right. Now, this is important when we get to the Trail of Tears.
Okay.
The Dawes Commission set up tents in Indian territory. They told us that we lived in teepees.
Yeah.
Right?
Get the hell out of here with that shit. Go ahead.
Look, go back to Google for a minute. We're going to come back to this page, but we're going to go to Google and type in Hun's tents. HUN' tents. And then go to images. Okay.
They look like these right here, though. They look like these right here, I know. Kind of like these.
Those modern tents.
Yeah, but they're like the old ones.
Put in ancient in front of it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let me do it like that. So there you go, right here. Like this kind. Right here. The richer guys had like a more of a nice one though, but like the kings and shit. But it's the same thing as those.
We didn't live in tents, but I'm gonna show you that in a minute. But first, we're looking at these tents. Now, take out Hun and put in Mongol.
All right. All right, it's the Mongol. Let me say these in my that photo. Damn.
That one you clicked on have a Sri Yantra on the front.
Because I'm putting a book together called Young Elder and the Royal Haynes book. I'm going into more detail on it.
Hey, look, you know what's out cold? Motherfuckers be talking about, I remember a lot of stuff. All this shit come from Baba, Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, and the government.
Yeah. This is a good one right here. And the same people was building those igloos. Those igloos with the ice.
Yeah, but they also got teepees. They also got nomadic tents that they carried around with them that wasn't so big. And those are the ones that they said was our teepees. And
it was only for traveling, right? For these people that traveled when they were traveling, going to battle people.
Right. Because all of the Huns and the Mongols were nomads. They was always on the go. They didn't set up farming camps.
They call it a jir, also called Ura. Is a Mongoloid yurk. Is a Mongoloid tent home. Imagine living in a home that looked like a piece of candy, a Hershey's Kiss, but it's 9 feet height, 15 feet round. Actually, a jir might look rather odd, but they were very comfortable. So it's the Mongoloid. Let me blow it.
So they can fold their house up and go leave at any given time. All right, let's get back to the business at hand. We can go back to that later on. We're gonna pull up a TP from over there, in Asian TP.
Okay.
All right, so the Dawes Commission set up tents in Indian territory. Right, this is somebody named Bill Welch, Director Emeritus of the Oklahoma Historical Society Office of American Indian, culture, and preservation.
Damn, hold up. I don't want it to freeze up while we're doing it. Hold up. There you go. My bad. There you go.
Okay. It's a their field clerks scoured written records. Scroll down. Okay. Took oral testimony. Remember, we do everything orally anyway.
Yeah.
And generated enrollment cards for individuals determined to have Indian blood. Now, remember, they didn't have blood tests back then.
Yeah.
How the fuck they know who got Indian blood?
Right. Right.
You gotta keep that in mind because they make it sound like they could just run a blood test like they can now, pull your DNA and say, oh, you Chickasaw, you Choctaw, you Cherokee, you Ojibwe, right? They couldn't do that back then. So look what they're doing. They took oral testimony and scoured written record.
Yeah.
Right? All right, now, that's good. That included authentic Indians. How they know they're authentic?
They're right. Yeah.
They declaring them authentic under the Dawes Roll.
Mm-hmm.
But it also included lots of people with questionable heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it, and they already know this shit that I'm telling y'all. So this is not a secret. Commissioners took advantage of their positions and enrolled people who had very minimal or questionable connections to the tribes. They were not adverse to taking money under the table. What you say?
What you say?
What you say? These they can't be doing that. Look at this eight. Index to final rolls of citizens and freed men of the 5 civilized tribes in Indian Territory, prepared by the Commission and Commissioner. Biggie Smalls, the Commission. American Indian Removal Policy and the Trail of Tears. Now we're getting good. Andrew Jackson policy led to a shameful episode in U.S. history. And this is who we talking about.
The nigga on a $20 bill. That's why I don't like 20s, man. That's why I don't like 20s right there. I don't like 20s.
Well, I spend the shit out the motherfuckers. I don't plan on putting none of them in no frame, no way.
Right.
All right, now look. The American Indian Removal Policy of President Andrew Jackson was prompted by the desire of so-called white settlers in the South to expand into lands belonging to the 5 indigenous tribes. After Jackson succeeded in pushing the Indian Removal Act through Congress in 1830, the U.S. government spent nearly 30 years forcing indigenous people to move westward beyond the Mississippi River. This is the Trail of Tears.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about.
But that's going to come back up because that's part of the biblical contract.
Mm-hmm.
In the most notorious example of this policy, more than 15,000 members of the Cherokee tribes were forced to walk from their homes in southern states to a designated territory in present-day Oklahoma in 1838. Now, this is before the Dawes Roll.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Damn.
Many died along the way. The forced relocation became known as the Trail of Tears because of the great hardship faced by Cherokees. In brutal conditions, nearly 4,000 Cherokee died on the Trail of Tears. Mm-hmm. Go back up and look how long this took place. Look how long this was going on. Go back up.
Go back up right here.
Right there. They spent nearly 30 years forcing indigenous people to move westward beyond the Mississippi.
Man.
Right? Now, where do this happen? Somewhere in the Bible. Don't this happen somewhere in the Bible? Somebody was traveling around for 30, 40 years because they ain't had no homeland.
The Israelites.
Where was they coming from?
They were coming from ancient Kemet.
Mm-hmm. Who was they following?
Who they following? Moses.
Okay, and Elijah Muhammad said Moses did what?
Go ahead. I can't remember.
Elijah Muhammad said Moses was the one that was sent to civilize the so-called pale man.
Yeah, okay, yeah, to put the boat. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I'm with you.
Remember, he said Moses had to sleep in the ring of fire because they were so savage they might eat him in his sleep.
Right. Go ahead. That's right.
Right? Yeah. Now, in here is 30 years. The biblical stories say 40 years.
Okay.
So it's a 40-year sojourn.
Okay.
Right? So this 30 years take us to 1860, 40 years take us to 1870, about 12 years before the Dawes Roll Act.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So from 1830 to the Dawes Roll, okay, go over to Google and pull Dawes Roll up again. We got to get the exact year again.
I got you. Boom. We hitting it. Man, this shit's sticky. Man, bro.
What you pulling up? I can't see that.
I'm pulling up the Dawes Roll, but it like my shit was sticking. Don't let me type in there you go right here. It's the year is 1898. Hold up. Hold on, let me go back. Let me go back. Just find out. Okay. The Dawes Roll, also known as the Final Roll, are listed individuals who accepted eligible tribe membership in the 5 indigenous tribes: Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole. It does not include those whose application was stricken, rejected, or judged to be doubtful. Probably some dark-skinned people, right? Real Indians tried to file, and they got shot down, right? Those found eligible for the Final Roll were entitled to we just had read that, right? Allotments of land, usually as a homestead.
Mm-hmm.
The roll contain more than 100,000, 101,000 names from 1898 to 1914, primarily from 1890.
Okay, we just looking for the year right now, Elder, the year that it was passed again. So you go back to the main page, the year shouldn't be hard to find. It should be right there.
You got it right here. Okay, I got it. Hold up. I got you. It's the year is 1893.
Okay, so from 1830 to 1893, that's further than 40 years of sojourn waiting to have a reservation.
Yeah.
Right, actually 63 years, ain't
it? Yeah. It says from 1893 all the way up into it's a long time. Hold up.
I thought it was first passed in the 1880s.
Hold up, let me make sure this right here is right. It says right here 1893. So hold up. What year? Okay. 1887 is the date.
Okay. Now that's more closer to the date I was thinking.
All right. The 1880.
So that's 47 years still though. That's the 40-year sojourn of the so-called Israelites.
Yeah.
Now this is now remember, while this is going on, the Indian Removal Act, right? They marching across the land, but they're supposed to be coming from the South.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that know basic American history know that the South was about 90% melanated us.
Mm-hmm.
So where did these pale people come from in the South?
Exactly.
They couldn't have been there. So we gonna go to where they come from in the next one. We just reviewing Dawes Roll now, right? So scroll down. Let's read some more. There have been conflicts between whites and indigenous people since the first so-called white settlers arrived in North America, but in the early 1800s, the issue had come down to the so-called white settlers encroaching on the indigenous lands in the southern United States. Now, here go the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Martin Luther King, talking about the mechanizing of the farms. Right? Now, he's telling you what was going on during this period right here. This is the period of time he's talking about when they begin to mechanize the farms, and they hired us to teach the so-called settlers how to farm the land. All of the indigenous people know that we had to teach the people that came to the land how to farm because none of them knew how to work the unique land that was over here better than we did. Right? Now, 5 indigenous tribes were located on land
Notice they specify on land that would be highly sought for settlement. Especially as was prime land for the cultivation of cotton. The tribes on the land were the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole. Right? Over time, the tribes in the South tended to adopt the so-called white ways, such as taking up farming in the tradition of white settlers, which they didn't. We taught them how to farm. This is a known historical fact that all of us know without even asking who taught the so-called pale people how to farm. Remember the Mayflower came, they was dying of starvation because they didn't know how to cultivate food.
That's right.
Right. So in some cases, even buying and owning enslaved black people. They got to throw that in there, right?
They had to put that out for now.
I like that right there.
15.
Okay. In fact, settlers hungry for land were actually dismayed to see these tribes, contrary to all the grotesque propaganda about them being savages, adopted the farming practices of white Americans.
Yeah,
this don't even make sense. This is not even possible.
Yeah, right.
Right? But this is the story, the narrative they're giving us. So we're going to work with it. The accelerated desire to relocate indigenous people to the West was a consequence of the election of Andrew Jackson in 1828. Jackson had a long, complicated history with indigenous tribes, having grown up in frontier settlements where stories of attacks by them were common. Right?